industry. Here's how it's moved forward in the last 10 years. What are the exciting stuff? My daughter, I told her that Snapchat was actually in our data center, and she was like, wow.
Sylvie Le Roy is the EMEA Network Director at the Uptime Institute Network. She has extensive experience working with Datacentre Operations and has driven customer satisfaction programs across 35 sites in 11 countries. She joins us now on Cloud Moves TV. Sylvie, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Germany passed legislation earlier this year requiring at least 30% of non-executive board members have to be women. So the positions are going to stay empty unless they have a woman filling them. Do you think this type of bureaucracy is actually going to work in tackling the issue of gender inequality?
I think it's good to kickstart the movement from women to being workers to boardrooms. It needs to start somewhere. I think also the gender gap is going to be minimized at some point, because now everything is in the cloud, it's going to be digitized, everything's got to be reported on. When companies actually have to report on the figures of their employees, those who work in a company but also who are on the board, if 100% on the board are men, and then they're going to be looking bad. So the fact that it's going to be more visible, I think, is going to change things. And the rest, well, really, it would have been better if we didn't have to come to that. But do we have a choice?
Now, gender diverse companies are actually 15% more likely to financially outperform their counterparts who are less diverse. How can we really drive this message home to employers?
Well, I don't know. I think for me, the figures speak for themselves. I think it's also employers sometimes are trying to recruit women. There are just not many about. When I was heading support for a well-known collocation provider, I had to really be creative in who I was hiring, and women's CV were not always coming forward. So it's a tough nut to crack. But at the same time, I think we need to do more to promote our industry to schoolers or universities. I think it's not very well known by most people. I actually fell into it. I didn't know about it, and I think it's still the case even now, 15 years later. So we need to do more.
Unfortunately so, because women constitute only 19% of digital entrepreneurs across Europe. So how can we motivate young girls to really absorb themselves in STEM subjects?
I think we need to show them the relation between certain subjects, where it can lead them to. I see it with my daughter. She's like, well, why should I do maths more? I like it, but really I'm more interested in that. And I'm like, well, depends what you want to do. And she's like, well, how is math going to help this? So there is a real disconnect. They're not in tune with what's going on in the active world, young people, you know, they have no experience. So we need to explain to them, we need to show them what the industry, here's how it's moved forward in the last 10 years, what are the exciting stuff. My daughter, I told her that Snapchat was actually in our data center, and she was like, wow, you mean really? I was like, yeah. And you know, she had no idea what a data center was, although I've been working in them for the past 15 years. So, and then she started asking more questions. She went on YouTube. You know, everything is at their fingertips, but unless you trigger it, it's not going to happen. They don't know.
That's a really interesting perspective. So you think young girls perhaps are seriously underestimating how often and how much STEM subjects like mathematics really do bleed into multiple industries and affect what they would consider to be fun things like Snapchat. That's really interesting. Now, only 29 out of every 1,000 female graduates have a degree in computer sciences or ICT. What was your experience of STEM further education like? Did it bother you being surrounded by mainly men?
No, because I'm still in it after 15 years. In my previous company, we were two women in management out of 150. So the problem is not the men; they're very welcoming. It's just that there's not enough women about. And again, my experience with STEM, it's like I was not STEM initially. I became STEM after a number of years in working in a data center. I've now even gone more technical, having changed companies because it's more about the design and build and the power and cooling, the numbers, and how to make it work more efficiently. So I think after a while you become like more of an expert than you actually ever wanted to be in the first place. But you know what, it's fun. I never thought I'd be working in the data center industry 20 years ago.
Now, the number of ICT-related jobs across Europe is going to grow to 7.9 million by 2020. So do you believe that mentorship and sponsorship programs are enough to right in the gender gap?
I think we have to start with that. We need to promote the sectors. You know, like in IT, you've got like a lot of different sectors. It's the IT industry, but you know, data center is one sector of it. Then you've got like my colleague on the panel who are more into the malware, software function, and the programming. And in between, there's a whole array of different things. And actually, it keeps, you know, sort of burgeoning new areas. You know, so it's all exciting, and not everybody's going to know everything from the start because it continues in regenerating itself in more efficient ways. So the data center of 15, 20 years ago, it's like where women or men were wearing white blouses and looking very serious at the mainframe. It's not there anymore. It's different. Now we've got like the hipster with the beard and you know, you name it. That's what we have to do with. So it's becoming more mainstream. The IT has been more democratized, but we need to actually show all the options and you know what's exciting about it. You know what you do, what all the bits, when all the bits come together.
No, absolutely. Sylvie, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Just one very last question. What would you say to those individuals who actually haven't been able to attend the Cloud Expo Frankfurt today and are thinking of coming next year? What would you say to those people?
Yeah, come along. It's great.
What drew you to attend?
Well, interestingly, my company started working with Data Center World last year. We did one in London, and we're now doing one in Frankfurt, another one in Paris. I think they're doing also in Singapore, Hong Kong. It's a great platform, but also it's different from the other events. It's not maybe as vendor everywhere. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's more friendly environment, and it's lovely to see new people as well. It's not necessarily the same people who go to different events. Very good.
Absolutely. Sylvie, thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure to have you on. Thank you. That's Sylvie Le Roy speaking to us here. I'm Emma Boyle, and this is Cloud Moves TV.